Hey YouTube, this is Air-Cooled ADV. This is going to be a really raw, unscripted walk around of my 2019 Yamaha YZ250X. It's a long story. I effectively bought it new, but I am technically the second owner. Anyway, I thought I would just talk about some of the modifications I've done to this bike, talk about how I like some of the modifications or don't like some of them. I like most of them though. Yeah, this is my 2019 Yamaha YZ250X. It has, according to the somewhat dysfunctional Tusk hour meter, it has a little over 30 hours on it now. The thing will randomly count backwards sometimes, so I think it's probably a little closer to 40, maybe 45, and maybe more. Between 40 and 50. It is the best off-road motorcycle I've owned to date. I have it set up for a little bit of hard enduro, a lot of just general off-road riding and cross-country racing, National Hare and Hound and Western Hare Scramble style races on this, so desert racing. So a pretty wide variety of terrain, not much jumping, a lot of different types of off-road. Starting at the front here, I have the Polisport lower fork guard and front disc protector on it. They're polymer. I used a lot of light polymer parts on this versus carbon fiber or aluminum because they generally tend to be cheaper. So far they've done their job pretty well. I'm quite a fan actually for the price of what those are and what they do for the bike. Moving on to the fork guards here, I have the ProTech wraparound fork guards out of the UK. They're quite expensive. They're like $50 or $60 shipped for just a set of plastic fork guards, but they do provide pretty excellent wraparound protection of the lower of the fork stanchion or the fork lower, whatever you want to call it, which is to me really important in that I ride a lot of terrain with rocks where you'll be backing into them and smacking into the sides. And the stock fork guards on Yamaha, Suzuki, KTM, pretty much everyone except for Honda only covers right about to here, this half of the fork. So, you know, you're paying for that extra wraparound protection, but I think it's quite a valuable add-on. But yeah, for some reason only Honda has the wraparounds. I don't know if they still do, but they did at the time of my last Honda, which is a 2002 Honda CR250. Moving on to more, I guess I'll just go over the bottom of the bike here. Lower protection. This is a really cool piece from Hyde Racing. It's a combination polymer full skid plate as well as wraparound pipe protector. Now, I've seen a lot of different types of pipe protectors. It's a tongue twister. The last bike I had, that 02 CR, came with a carbon fiber, I don't know which one it was, but you know, there are a lot of different brands of carbon fiber pipe protectors out there. They all cover this first half of the pipe, but they all end right about at the seam here. So they will protect you from rock damage from the front, and I guess technically from rock damage from tipping over or whatever on the side, but they don't provide a whole lot of bottom protection, and their protection is pretty minimal as they hug the pipe. And I've seen a lot of those where people will remove the pipe protector and it'll look fine and there'll actually be some large dents underneath it. So far I've been very happy with this polymer Hyde Racing piece. You can see it has some scratches on it from where I've ridden in like streams and dry stream beds and gullies and stuff and rammed it into rocks. I have a pretty good one right here that would have been, you know, a dented in pipe, absolutely. And it seems to do really well. It hasn't melted like I've seen some reports. Anyway, I just thought I'd touch on that part. I really could not recommend this part more so far. It's lighter and less rigid than aluminum. It doesn't vibrate. It's not too when you consider the price of a pipe guard and a skid plate put together, you're looking at about $250, and this whole piece was well under $200. It was like one something, I don't know, but definitely worth it. Now you might have noticed I also have polymer clutch cover and ignition cover protectors by Polisport as well. These are really inexpensive pieces. I haven't really rammed them too hard so far, but it does reduce the boot rub on the clutch cover, which is totally cosmetic, but something that I like. So far I found them to be nothing short of excellent. Really good way without buying a billet cover that's, you know, $100 plus. To be able to just throw these right on, and they use the same mounting bolts as the actual cover itself, so they're quite easy to install. They come with their own bolts with a little extra length on them and a little metal flange in there to protect it. Moving on, I have this TMD or TM Design Works It looks like a 3D printed sort of polymer material. Again, a lot of polymer on this bike, but this is a case saver. What I really like about it is it's relatively inexpensive. It provides really good case protection should your chain break without covering the sprocket like the stock cover. When it's not summer, it can get really muddy, and you'll have issues with mud getting jammed up into the sprocket and wearing everything. I've had that happen time and time again. So for me, I have to run an open case saver. Otherwise, I will experience mud rub up against the case, increased chain and sprocket wear. You would get such a conglomerate of foreign material wedged up in there. Moving on to the engine, because one of the circumstances I got this bike so cheap was that the top end was nearly worn out from the dealer not putting premix in it. So this is running a Pro X full top end kit with an OEM gasket set. I run a fuel filter on all my bikes. It just reduces the chance of foreign material getting into your fuel intake tract. The carburetor is stock. I have, however, gone from it was a 178 main. I'm at, I believe, a 172. The stock Pilot is a 50, and I'm at a 48. 2.5 turns out on the air screw. Quite good jetting for Idaho conditions, or Idaho summer conditions of 70 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and 2,500 to over 5,000 feet elevation. It does pretty well with that. Stock, it comes very rich. And also, you might notice this blue hose here is a different color than the rest of the drain hoses. That's because I've routed the stock overflow off the bottom up and around the carburetor. And the reason why I do that is because you can even see there's a little fuel in there. Stock, these bikes, and any two-stroke really, if you've ridden them, you know that they pee a lot out of the bottom of the carburetor. That hose just goes straight down. I've noticed my miles per gallon has gone up significantly since I did that, because less fuel is able to leak out, loop the fuel around and over top of the carburetor. Definitely increases my miles per gallon. I get a lot less drip out of that. Before, I would get like a lot of fuel coming out of that. Running No Toil filter cleaner and lubricant kit. It's excellent. Changed my maintenance routine big time and how much easier it is, and so far it's performed just as well. I guess moving up to the bars here, running the stock Pro Taper bars. I don't know what the bend is. I think it's somewhere close to the YZ High. Relatively little or flat sweep. I like a flat sort of intermediate bend. ODI lock-on grips with Tusk grip donuts. Doesn't really matter what brand of the grip donuts, but the lock-on grips I'm a huge fan of. They are super easy to install. They're a little more expensive, but I don't really go through grips that quickly anyway. I have not great hand strength, so I'm not exactly tearing them up. I run flag style hand guards just because they're a little cheaper, and as much of a nitpick as this sounds, when you take especially an aluminum bar and secure it from the bar end to the bend, or whatever this is called here, you'll increase the rigidity quite a bit. And on a bike like this that is not counterbalanced, it's a two-stroke, that does increase the vibration input to your hands quite a bit. And so that's one of the main reasons I run flags. If I were running, don't get me wrong, if I was riding Extreme Enduro only, I would run wraparounds, but I feel that the shields still protect my hands reasonably, and also if my hands blow off the bars, I can plausibly get my arm out of the way. That's just me. That's a stupid justification. I just like it. Reflex folding levers by Streamline brakes and levers. They're excellent. You can see I've gone down on this one a good bit, and it's a little scratched up, but it folds out every time. I run Engine Ice Coolant, although I will not be after this next top end. I'm going to be switching over to Maxima Coolanol. It's a little cheaper, and I don't know, I'm just going to move over. I do run a Myler's high pressure radiator cap because this bike does not have the capability stock of putting a fan on it. The exhaust system, I dented the stock pipe within 10 engine hours because I didn't have any sort of pipe guard. So now I run an FMF Gnarly, which, unlike the Turbine Core 2 silencer that I'm running, the Gnarly, they only ever made one version, which is for the YZ250. They didn't ever specifically tune it to the YZ250X. It increases bottom end. The pickup from the bottom to the mid is definitely a little stronger. It's a lot harder to stall at super low RPMs when you're really on the clutch in first gear. It does reduce the over revs and the smoothness of the pull. It's a lot meatier in the bottom to mid, and then the over rev, the jetting has to be really clean on top. Otherwise, it will not get up on the pipe as easily. Overall, though, now that the jetting is good, initially I was not happy with it, but now that I've leaned the main another size and played with the air screw position, Oh, and switch to the leaner needle. It comes with 2 needles. I forgot the names, but I've switched to the leaner needle, and I enjoy this pipe quite a bit. Built a little heavier duty, but thanks to this pipe guard, I haven't had to experience or test that. Run Works Connection aluminum radiator braces. They're super light duty. I was going to run the Enduro Engineerings, but they were like 5 pounds. I've crashed with these before on another bike where I really hit the radiators hard. I haven't on this bike yet, but they do a decent job. They definitely won't save you from a huge, like I've looped a bike into some rocks and it still busted them. These are still better than nothing, and they're extremely lightweight. Moving on to the Turbine Core 2 silencer. I mainly just run that because I need to be spark arrested. Now they did make a YZ250X specific Turbine Core 2. It has a smaller exhaust pipe opening, or a smaller diameter. I don't know. I haven't run the stock one really. I switched it over as soon as I bought it. It seems to do pretty well. Much as I hate to admit it, something KTM does a lot better than Yamaha is this mid-pipe gasket. The stock one is absolutely tiny. It's even smaller than the one on my CR, and especially smaller than the one on my KDX. So I swapped over to the KTM new design one, KTM Husqvarna, and I haven't had a drip of spooge after that. It's pretty excellent. And then I run some cheap eBay grip tape, and I cut out little bits of grip tape for my subframe, I should say. Hopefully this provides some inspiration or whatever for people to modify their Yamaha YZ250Xs as a whole. I feel the bits I've put on it and the upgrades are pretty excellent, actually. It really serves my purpose well. I think the number one thing you can do for this bike, as far as internal mods, though, is just jet it right. So anyway, this is air-cooled ADV signing off.